Well, the office of Sudanese Prime Minister Abdalla Hamdok says he has returned home, and they announced his release on Tuesday. Hamdok has been arrested a day earlier by the military, and the head of the armed forces, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, says it was done for Hamdok's own protection. Al-Burhan also says the military took control of the government to stop a civil war. The Prime Minister's office says Burhan's actions had nothing to do with national interests. Protests have broken out and continued overnight. People have been demonstrating both in support of and also against the military. And our correspondent Naba Mohideen is joining us over the phone from Khartoum. Naba, hello there. So, first of all, we've learned that the Prime Minister has returned home, but what's the latest of the whole event? And what's next from here? Naba, can you hear me? Okay, we'll try to get back to your correspondent in Khartoum in Sudan because the signal there is on and off due to the unrest there. Now, Patrick Oyet is having more on the protests in neighboring South Sudan. Take a look.
The situation in Sudan remains tense. There are people still on the streets of Khartoum protesting. The military, of course, are responding. A number of people have been shot, some have died, and more than 100 have been injured. But the protesters are still on the streets of Khartoum. They are blocking roads. They're saying the reason as to why they're blocking roads is to ensure that the military do not actually get to them easily. And, of course, the leaders of the military have also been speaking, especially al-Burhan has been speaking, trying to defend what the military did, saying that they did that because the coalition government was having a lot of problems. There were a lot of disagreement between the civilians and the military, and those people who came from political parties were the ones who were causing problems. So he says that they are ready to form a government, in which government young people would be included. He says that within this week they will also reform the judiciary, and those who have been arrested would be tried in a fair trial. But those people who are on the streets are not accepting whatever the military is saying. They're saying that the military should hand over power now. They do not trust even the court that the military is saying they are setting up, because there is a state of emergency. That means anybody can be arrested and taken to a court that is set by the people who have taken up government through illegal means. So they are not accepting anything. They are continuing to protest, burning tires along the streets. For CGTN, I am Patrick Oyet in Juba.
And an emergency UN Security Council meeting on Sudan has ended without a joint statement, though. It comes as the Secretary General called on world leaders to overcome differences and take action against what he called an epidemic of coup d'etats in Africa and Asia. Sarah Wharton reports.
The Security Council met behind closed doors on Tuesday afternoon at the UN headquarters in New York. Members received a briefing from Volker Perthes, the UN's special representative for Sudan, who's currently in Khartoum. Before the meeting, we heard from Norway, one of the countries that called for today's meeting.
We, of course, as Norway, strongly condemned the ongoing military coup in Sudan. And we have called for the immediate release of Prime Minister Hamdok and all other detainees in Sudan.
The military seized power in Sudan on Monday, 2 years after the ousting and arrest of longtime leader Omar al-Bashir. The military was due to hand over leadership of the council that runs the country to civilians in just a few weeks. Earlier on Tuesday, the Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, said it was part of a series of coups in Africa and Asia by military leaders taking advantage of geopolitical differences at the UN Security Council and the economic fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic.
My appeal, obviously, is for especially the big powers to come together for the unity of the Security Council in order to make sure that there is effective deterrence in relation to this epidemic of coup d'etats.
After the Security Council meeting came to a close, Russia's representative said there was still work to be done to find common ground amongst the member states.
Let's work on some document and then we'll see what we agree on, okay? We agree on that we are all preoccupied on what's happening in Sudan. That's the most important thing.
The Security Council is due to discuss the situation in Sudan again on Wednesday. Meanwhile, the UN says it's working with partners to provide life-saving assistance to 9 million vulnerable people across Sudan, and that it's critical those operations continue unimpeded to prevent a further deterioration of the humanitarian situation. Sarah Walton, CGTN, New York.
All right, now let's try again to talk to our correspondent in Khartoum, Naba Muhyiddin. Hello there, Naba. Can you hear me this time? Hello. Can you hear me this time? Okay, it seems that the signal has not been recovered. The signal there in Khartoum is still unstable due to the unrest. We'll try again later. And earlier we talked to William Lawrence. He's a professor of political science and international affairs at American University in Washington. He said that there are divisions within the military as well as political parties and civilian society. And whether there is a strong desire for democracy among civilians is very important for the future of the country.
This seems to be the beginning of the end of the Sudanese democratic experiment that began in the spring and summer of 2019, when this civilian-military deal was worked out with the help of the African Union mediators and back-channel help from the United States and Germany and the UK, the so-called Troika. So far, so bad. I mean, pretty much every announcement that's been made does not conform with any kind of return to democracy or what the State Department today called the democratic aspirations of the Sudanese people. It's a bit of a complex situation because we have divisions within the military, divisions on the civilian side, and divisions within the political parties over what to do next. But there's a general consensus that the military grab that happened on Monday, just hours after the U.S. envoy, who was there to mediate, left, is bad, and nothing good can come out of these moves, except for a few thousand supporters of the coup that were protesting in favor of it. Over the next few days, I'm looking to see if the civilian opponents to this coup come out in large numbers. I'm looking to see how ferocious the response of the military forces are. So far, we have 10 dead and over 100 wounded. How bad will it get? Because the ferocity of the response helps determine, how the international community sees it and whether the Sudanese are expressing their desires in favor of democracy. There needs to be a civilian dialogue, those that were for and against this coup. And there needs to be a serious discussion within the military about how long they want to sustain this. They've already announced that they're going to hold elections over 2 years, which is not in keeping with the agreements that were made in the summer of 2019.
You're now watching Global Watch on CGTN. Still ahead.